April 12th, 1943. Outside Tunis, North Africa. The desert wind carries the sharp crack of rifle fire and the deeper thud of American artillery. Sand rattles against steel helmets as Gefreiter Karl-Heinz Weber, 21 years old, presses his back into a shallow wadi, clutching a carabiner 98K with fingers gone numb from fear rather than cold. The Africa Corps is collapsing. British armor is pushing from the east. Americans from 2nd Corps are advancing from the west. The radio has been silent for hours. Then it happens. A white cloth rises ahead of him, tied to a rifle barrel, fluttering weakly in the dust. An order passes down the line, hoarse and final. Genug. Waffen nieder. Enough. Lay down your weapons. Karl-Heinz stands slowly, heart pounding, expecting the crack of a rifle shot. Instead, he hears shouted English commands, boots crunching on sand, the metallic click of M1 Garands being lowered. Not fired. An American sergeant steps forward, jaw tight, eyes exhausted, but not cruel. He gestures sharply. Drop it. Over there. Karl-Heinz obeys. The war, for him, is over. Within days, he is one of tens of thousands of German prisoners herded into makeshift holding areas. Barbed wire strung hastily across the desert. Canvas tents baking under the North African sun. The prisoners whisper rumors in low voices at night. Some expect execution. Others expect starvation. A few believe they will be sent to Britain. None imagine what actually awaits them. Weeks later, under armed guard, Karl-Heinz is marched up a steel gangway into the belly of a transport ship in Algiers harbor. The air inside smells of oil, sweat, and rust. Hammocks sway as the engines rumble to life. When the ship pulls away, he realizes something unsettling. They are heading west. May 1943, somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. The crossing is long, monotonous, and tense. U-boats are rumored to be nearby, and the guards, American military police, sleep beside mounted machine guns. Yet something doesn't add up. Food arrives twice a day. Not thin soup, not crusts of bread, but hot meals ladled from steaming containers. White bread, beans, occasionally meat, and always, to Karl-Heinz's astonishment, coffee. Dark, bitter, real coffee. The first time it's served, he hesitates. Prisoners glance at one another, suspicious. Is it a trick? A way to soften them before something worse. An older Feldwebel mutters, "Eat. If they wanted us dead, we'd be dead already." Karl-Heinz drinks. The warmth spreads through his chest. Unfamiliar and deeply unsettling. Back in Germany, coffee has been a memory since before the war. Ersatz substitutes, acorns, chicory, had long replaced the real thing. On deck, during brief permitted intervals, he watches American sailors move about with casual confidence. They chew gum. They smoke freely. They joke. One of them tosses an apple core into the sea, barely thinking about it. An apple. Karl-Heinz thinks, thrown away. June 2nd, 1943. Newport News. Virginia. Fog hangs low over the harbor as the ship docks. Cranes creak. Gulls scream overhead. The prisoners are lined up, counted, and marched onto American soil, some stepping hesitantly, as if expecting the ground itself to betray them. Military police stand watch in pressed uniforms, Thompson submachine guns slung across their chests. Trucks wait nearby, engines idling. The prisoners are loaded aboard and driven inland, past green fields, wooden houses, and roads crowded with civilian cars. Cars. Karl-Heinz presses his face close to the canvas flap. He sees farms stretching to the horizon, barns painted bright red, silos full, tractors at work. Nothing looks bombed. Nothing looks hungry. This can't be the front, someone whispers. It's not, another replies. This is America. Camp Forest, Tennessee, summer 1943. The gates swing open. Barbed wire glints in the sun. But the camp itself is orderly. Rows of wooden barracks, mess halls, latrines, guard towers evenly spaced. A sign reads, "Prisoner of War Camp, U.S. Army, Rules are explained through interpreters. Roll calls. Work details. No escape attempts. The Geneva Convention will be followed. That phrase, Geneva Convention, means little to Karl-Heinz at first. It sounds like paperwork, not survival. Then lunch is served. Inside the mess hall, long tables are set with metal trays. Prisoners shuffle forward. The line moves quickly. Onto each tray goes white bread, potatoes, vegetables, and a slab of meat. Steaming! Real! From the far side of the hall, Karl-Heinz notices something else. Through an open doorway, he sees American guards eating. Their trays look fuller, more meat, desserts, cigarettes tucked behind ears, coffee poured without measurement. The prisoners eat in silence, confusion spreading faster than any spoken word. Why do they eat better than us? Why do they eat better than soldiers at the front? Karl-Heinz chews slowly, staring at his hands. He is a prisoner, defeated, disarmed. And yet, for the first time in years, he is not hungry. The question lingers in his mind, heavy and unresolved. One that will follow him through the wire, through the months ahead, and through a country whose abundance defies everything he thought he knew about war. July 1943, Camp Forest, Tennessee. The clang of a metal spoon against a tin tray echoes through the barracks at dawn. Karl-Heinz Weber wakes to it every morning now, no longer startled, but still disoriented. The war feels far away here, too far. Outside, cicadas buzz in the humid southern air, a sound he had never heard before coming to America. It is loud, constant, alive. Roll call comes at 600 hours. Prisoners form ranks in the gravel yard, boots crunching in unison. American guards stand opposite them, relaxed but alert. No barking dogs, no rifle butts, just orders, clipped and efficient. Afterward, breakfast. The mess hall smells of bread and grease. Prisoners file in, trays in hand, eggs today, powdered but plentiful, oatmeal, bread thick enough to tear apart with both hands. And again, coffee, always coffee. Karl-Heinz eats slowly, watching everything. Across the room, American guards sit at a separate table. Their breakfast includes the same items, but more of them. Extra bread, bacon, sugar poured freely into coffee mugs. One guard laughs, wiping grease from his fingers with a napkin before lighting a cigarette. The sight gnaws at Karl-Heinz in a way hunger never did. Back home, German propaganda had painted the Americans as decadent, soft, wasteful. But this was something else. This was not softness. This was capacity. Later that morning, assigned to a work detail repairing camp fencing, Karl-Heinz finally asks the question aloud. Why? He says in halting English. Do guards eat more than prisoners? The American corporal supervising them, Corporal James Red Haskins, Alabama-born, sunburned, barely older than Karl-Heinz, glances at him, surprised by the directness. Eat more. Haskins shrugs. We eat what the army gives us. But the convention, Karl-Heinz presses. Equal rations. Haskins leans on his hammer. Equal calories, he says. That's what it says. Not the same food. You're getting enough, ain't you? Karl-Heinz nods, reluctantly. Well, Haskins adds, almost apologetic. We got plenty. That single sentence hits harder than any insult. We got plenty. In the weeks that follow, the prisoners begin to notice patterns. Supply trucks arrive daily, sometimes twice a day, rolling through the camp gates with crates stacked high. Flour, meat, canned vegetables, powdered milk, coffee by the sack. The guards don't count each bean. They don't measure scarcity. They distribute in the barracks at night. Debates rage. This violates the spirit of the convention, insists Obergefreiter Franz Müller, a former law student. Equality means equality. No, counters another. It means survival. And we are surviving. Karl-Heinz listens, saying little. He thinks of letters from home, months old now, describing ration cards, empty shelves, meals stretched thin. He thinks of his mother watering down soup so it would last another day. Here, in enemy hands, he eats better than she does. August 1943. A Red Cross inspection team arrives. White vehicles bearing red crosses roll through the camp gates. Prisoners are lined up. Barracks are inspected. Kitchens examined. Rations weighed and recorded. Interpreters relay questions. Are you receiving sufficient food? Yes. Any mistreatment? No. The inspectors compare numbers. Calories are calculated. The Geneva Convention is satisfied. Karl-Heinz watches from the side as an American officer explains calmly, almost proudly, that the United States produces more food than it can consume, that even with millions under arms, there is surplus. Surplus. It is a word that does not exist in wartime Germany. That night, Karl-Heinz lies awake on his bunk, staring at the wooden ceiling. You can almost feel his thoughts shifting, slowly, painfully. The war he believed he was fighting no longer matches the world he is seeing. September 1943. Work details expand. Prisoners are sent outside the camp under guard, to farms, lumber yards, road crews. Karl-Heinz is assigned to a local Tennessee farm. The farmer, Mr. William Carter, shakes his hand awkwardly on the first day. You work, you eat, he says simply. They work from sunrise to afternoon, harvesting corn. At midday, Carter's wife brings lunch. Sandwiches, thick ones, ham, cheese, apples, lemonade cold enough to sting the teeth. Karl-Heinz hesitates again, instinctively waiting for permission. Carter waves him on. Don't be shy. Son, there's more where that came from. More? Karl-Heinz eats until his stomach aches. Not from hunger, but from unfamiliar fullness. He looks out over the fields, endless rows, mechanized equipment, barns full to bursting, no bomb craters, no air raid sirens, no fear. In that moment, something fundamental breaks. This war, he realizes, is not just being fought with tanks and planes. It is being fought with factories, farms, and logistics so vast that even prisoners are fed well, while guards eat better still, without guilt, without thought. The imbalance is not cruelty, it is scale. As autumn approaches, the prisoners no longer ask why the Americans eat better. They begin to ask a far more dangerous question. How can Germany win a war against this? October 1943. Camp Forest, Tennessee. Autumn arrives quietly, painting the trees beyond the wire in shades of red and gold. The air cools. Work details continue. And with the change in season comes a subtle but profound shift among the prisoners. They are no longer just surviving. They are observing. Karl-Heinz Weber notices it first in the smallest details. The guards complain, not about food shortages, but about monotony. Too much canned beef, too many potatoes, too much bread. One sergeant jokes that he'd kill for something different. While scraping half his plate into a waste bin, Karl-Heinz looks away, unsettled. In Germany, wasting food is unthinkable. Here, it is casual. One afternoon, during a fencing repair detail, Corporal Haskins shares a cigarette with Karl-Heinz. It's against regulations, but enforcement has grown lax. The war feels distant even to the guards now. Where are you from? Haskins asks. Hamburg. Karl-Heinz replies. Haskins nods. Heard it got hit pretty bad. Karl-Heinz stiffens. Yes. They work in silence for a moment. My old man farms, Haskins says finally. Government buys half of what he grows, stores the rest, says it's for the war. For soldiers? Karl-Heinz asks. For everyone. Haskins shrugs. Soldiers, prisoners, allies, whoever needs it. That answer lingers. For whoever needs it. November 1943. Thanksgiving approaches. The prisoners hear rumors first. Whispers passed between work details, half believed. Then the confirmation comes from the camp commandant himself during roll call. There will be a holiday meal. The interpreter announces, in accordance with regulations, the mess hall is transformed. Tables are scrubbed clean. Extra rations are issued. And on Thanksgiving Day, trays are filled with food Karl-Heinz has only seen in illustrations. Turkey, gravy, potatoes mashed smooth and rich, vegetables swimming in butter, pie. The guards eat nearby, their tables even heavier. Some complain jokingly about overeating. One unbuttons his uniform slightly, laughing. Karl-Heinz stares at his tray, stunned. This is not mercy. He realizes, this is normal, normal, in a country that has not known hunger in years. As he eats, he feels something dangerously close to admiration. Early 1944, letters from home arrive sporadically, delayed and censored. One from his sister describes standing in line for hours for bread. Another mentions bomb damage near their neighborhood. No meat, no coffee, no sugar. Karl-Heinz reads the letters twice, then folds them carefully and tucks them into his pocket. That evening, he trades 2 cigarettes, issued weekly by the Americans, for an extra slice of bread from another prisoner. The irony does not escape him. Here, cigarettes are currency. Food is constant. February 1944. New prisoners arrive, captured in Italy. They are thinner, harder, still burning with belief. They scoff at the Tennessee prisoners. You've grown soft, one sneers, enjoying American comforts. Karl-Heinz says nothing. Instead, he watches as the newcomers are issued blankets, boots, and full meals. Watches their suspicion turn to confusion. Confusion to silence. It always follows the same pattern. First the disbelief, then the counting of calories, then the quiet recalculation of reality. One night, in the barracks, an argument erupts. The Americans want us comfortable, says Miller bitterly. They want us weak. No, another replies. They don't care enough to weaken us. They just have too much. That thought hangs in the air. Too much. Karl-Heinz lies awake, listening to the hum of distant trucks delivering yet more supplies. He thinks of German soldiers at the front, hungry, cold, fighting with dwindling resources. He thinks of American guards, thousands of miles from home, eating better than civilians in Europe. This, he understands now, is not accidental. Abundance is a weapon. It keeps morale high. It keeps production steady. It allows generosity without sacrifice. And it sends a message more powerful than propaganda. Even our prisoners will not starve. By spring, rumors of Allied landings in France begin to circulate. The guards talk more openly now. Newspapers appear in the camp library, sanitized but telling. Karl-Heinz reads between the lines. If America can feed millions of its own soldiers, millions of allies, and hundreds of thousands of enemy prisoners, while eating better than all of them, then the outcome of the war feels increasingly inevitable. The guards eat better because they can, and because they can, the war is already decided. June 6th, 1944, Camp Forest, Tennessee. The news reaches the camp before dawn. A guard runs past the barracks, boots striking gravel faster than usual. Another shouts something unintelligible. By roll call, the tension is unmistakable. The prisoners stand at attention as the interpreter's voice trembles. Not with fear, but with awe. Large Allied landings, he says carefully. In France, Normandy, a murmur ripples through the ranks. Some prisoners stiffen. Others lower their heads. Karl-Heinz feels the words settle in his chest like a weight. Normandy. The guards are different that day. Energized, focused, almost celebratory. Radios crackle in the guard towers. Newspapers are passed around freely. Maps appear in the mess hall. Arrows drawn in grease pencil across the French coast. At lunch, the guards eat with appetite, laughing openly now. Extra coffee is poured. Someone produces a harmonica. Karl-Heinz watches them and understands something with absolute clarity. They are not celebrating victory. They are celebrating confirmation. Summer 1944. The camp swells with new arrivals. Thousands of German prisoners captured in France. They arrive exhausted, wounded, stunned by the speed of the Allied advance. Their first shock is not captivity, it is dinner. One newly arrived Unteroffizier stares at his tray in disbelief. "This is for us?" he asks. "Yes," Karl-Heinz replies quietly. "And the guards?" Karl-Heinz glances across the hall. "They eat better?" The man laughs bitterly. "Of course they do." But the laughter fades quickly. The conversations in the barracks change. No more talk of final victory. No more faith in wonder weapons. Instead, The prisoners discuss factories destroyed, oil shortages, and collapsing supply lines. They compare notes. The Americans gave us new boots. One says, they issue fresh uniforms, says another. They give medical care. A third adds, even to SS. That last point always lands heavily. Karl-Heinz notices something else, too. The guards no longer watch the prisoners with suspicion. Escape attempts are rare. Where would they go? Beyond the wire lies a country too vast, too well-fed, too confident to fear a few unarmed men. December 1944. Winter sets in. Snow dusts the camp. Prisoners receive heavy coats, gloves, extra blankets. Christmas approaches. Once again, the mess hall is transformed. Decorations appear, paper chains, a small tree. The guards invite a camp choir of prisoners to sing carols, German ones. Stille Nacht echoes through the wooden building. Karl-Heinz sings softly, his throat tight. The meal is heavy. Meat, potatoes, cake, coffee, always coffee. Across the room, the guards eat even more. One pushes his chair back, groaning good-naturedly. Too much food, he says. Every damn year. Karl-Heinz almost laughs. April 1945. The rumors stop. Instead, the truth arrives in official announcements. Berlin encircled. Hitler dead. Germany surrendered. There is no outburst, no shouting, just silence. Some prisoners weep. Others stare at the ground. Karl-Heinz feels oddly calm. The war had ended for him 2 years earlier. In a Tunisian wadi, that night, the guards do not celebrate. They eat their meals quietly. A few raise cups of coffee and subdued toasts. The prisoners watch, feeling neither hatred nor envy, only exhaustion. 1946. Repatriation begins. Karl-Heinz boards a train heading east. He is thinner than when he arrived, but healthier than when he was captured. In his pack, he carries letters, photographs, and a strange new understanding of the world. As the American camp fades behind him, he looks back one last time at the guard towers, the mess hall, the supply sheds overflowing with crates. He finally understands the answer to the question that haunted him from the first day. The American guards ate better not because the prisoners deserved less, but because America had more than enough. Enough to fight a global war, enough to feed its enemies, enough to make hunger irrelevant. And in that abundance, the outcome of the war had been written long before the final shot was fired.